game.
Ken, does it feel like you got away with one there, given the late rush that the Swans
I
came?
don't know about got away with it. I thought we played pretty well for 3 quarters, but to their credit, and that's Sydney, they just don't stop. They keep coming, and we're lucky with the last quarter, but I thought we earned our right to be in front by a decent margin in the first 3 quarters with what we're able to do, albeit some parts of the game, particularly contested possession, was certainly well down all day, but our tackle pressure was elite. So I think that held us in the game pretty well for the 3 quarters. But yeah, sometimes in the last quarter it feels like you might have been a bit lucky, but I'll always say Sydney's a great side. They'll just do what they have to do to give themselves a chance. We lost a game a couple of weeks ago, a bit similar. We long way down and we come back. Some of the numbers are in our favour, but we lost, so the scoreboard says we win.
And I'm sure we'll talk more about the game in a sec, but can you give us an update on Ollie Wines? And
to the best of my knowledge, Ollie, had a little another one of his little episodes on his heart, which our doctors got well under control. So if that happens, he has had in the past that little procedure to look after that. Obviously, it come back a bit today. We have a good handle on it, but that doesn't mean we won't keep exploring what we need to do to support Ollie through that. He's pretty comfortable in the rooms. He come back out on the bench. The good thing is, unfortunately, he's experienced it, so he knows how to react with it. He's self-diagnosed. He comes off and says, my heart's doing a few silly things at the moment. So sounds really bad. I don't mean to talk about someone's heart, but the reality is he's got a good handle on it. Our medical team got an incredibly good handle on it. So we feel safe enough around what's going on. So we'll protect Ollie and make sure we do all the tests again this week.
And is this kind of him learning from those experiences and now knowing that, not taking any risk?
He comes off and he's checking his own heart rate. Like, he's incredible the way he's understanding it, and that's through the support of the medical team. So, he'd much prefer it not to be happening, and we would too. But the reality is, it's going on a little bit. But as I said, we feel like we've got a good handle on what needs to happen.
And you're expecting him to be able to return to South Australia?
Past performances would suggest he'll be fine, and he's okay now. As I said, he was on the bench, he was happy, and he's talking normal. He's just a little frustrated, if I'm being honest, about what happened.
Is Chubb okay as well? He came off with something in the last quarter.
Yeah, he just whacked his arm, but he went back on after that, so he was fine.
Ken, losing so much contested possession, a lot of that being ground ball, you've sort of been on the wrong side of the ground balls all year, but it was particularly notable today. Can you tell us about how you try and defend against that? And
it makes it hard because you lose a bit of territory both ways, so it makes it a bit more challenging. We were pretty good last week, but against Sydney, we know who are an elite ground ball turn-up team, and the ground ball comes about from work rate mainly, and I think they were very good at turning up, and they played a bit different. It's funny how the game goes. They played a bit different. They played us last year in the prelim final. They handballed an incredible number of times for Sydney. They typically marked on us in the past. So
it seems like you got a lot of handballs and got hands into those handball lanes through the corridor and cut.
I think our pressure won the game for us. And as much as we said before, we felt a bit of heat in that last quarter. I think the pressure in the whole 4 quarters won us the game.
They changed up their forward setup quite a few times during the game, of course. Aaron at the end, but they went through 4 or 5 key position forwards. How do you coach a defence to sort of see that many looks?
Yeah, it's not that different any other time because we get them to pick their matchups almost pretty much, so they get to know who they need to deal with. But clearly in the last quarter, Aaron, who was fresh, come on and it looked pretty good. Yeah. I reckon Coxie might play him forward again next week. I reckon the way he went in the last quarter.
Bigger body a bit of a worry?
Oh, I know we've got pretty good bodies down there. I think with Alir and Asava, and Miles Bergman and Lockie Jones, they're big and strong boys, so we don't feel that's a big issue. But in the last quarter, they dominated the ball. They got it forward quickly. Aaron was able to make us pay.
You mentioned Alir there. He had another big game today. 9 intercepts, another few intercept marks. Second in the league currently, I think, in intercept marks. What does he mean to your defence?
Fair bit. Obviously, he's been an unbelievable performer since we've got him from Sydney, and I know how much he thinks of the Sydney Swans. So we're lucky that we were able to get him at the time when he was available. So he's made our footy club a better football club, not just on the Saturdays when we play footy. He's just made us a better football club all round. And yeah, he's in great form at the start of this year. There wouldn't be too many better than him, I don't think, as a key back at the moment.
Did he have anything to say after the incident in the 4th quarter with a fan?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened there, so I don't really want to comment on that. But as far as I know, there was something went on, but I think Alir was okay with everything, so we'll work through it. I think Tommy Harley might have even spoke to Alir after the game. So let's respect our footballers. That's the most important thing. We've had a little bit of stuff go on over the journey, for the last few weeks particularly, and I think let them do what they do. You come to watch them, just admire them for what they are, I would have thought, and enjoy the game. If you can't do that, please don't come.
How's the last year going for you? I mean, with the big announcement, how are you feeling sort of a month and a half in?
Yes. Again, I replied to that question last week. I said, I don't. It's not a topic for me anymore. We know what's going on. We're really happy with what's going on. And I said last week, I just wish the question would stop being asked. So if I ask you not to ask the question again, we're very clear on what's going on. We're very comfortable with what's going on. We've been planned as a footy club all my time that we've been there, and we've done it again this time. So, yeah, as I said, when we lose, it seems to be topical. When we win, it's less topical. I just don't think it matters either way. Our players know exactly what's going on. They play. You watched them play the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's starting to look really comfortable.
I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we care about. Internally, our players know what's going on.
So the transition game was particularly strong for you guys. I think 4 goals off defensive turnover. It seemed like you were going a bit quicker and more direct. Is that something you were trying for?
Maybe at times, but you have to play what you get a little bit. I'm really happy with the way our turnover game's been. It hasn't been smooth sailing through the start of the year.
Yeah. It's
been a bit up and down, and we've been questioned in the past, are we over-handballing, we're doing this, we're doing that. You know, when the results go your way, I said back then that I think we're still learning. A slightly different game with slightly different personnel, and I still believe we're still learning. So it's a lot more improvement in us, I hope.
Yeah, and thoughts on Connor Rosie going back to half-back and having James Jordan with him from the
we thought that would happen.
Shaking that off,
we thought that would happen. We thought Connor was very good for us. Connor was as good as any player probably on the ground. I think by the end of the day, I think that's what my first initial thought was. They had some good players. We had some good players. I thought Connor was up with equal with any of them.
Feels like a long-term solution then, or is it just something that's working?
Yeah, we put him on ball in the second half. So it wasn't so long term. It was long term for 2.5 quarters. But yeah, we can do that. But as I said last week, leading into this game, we can also play him forward. He does hit the scoreboard. You know, he's our captain for a reason. He's a damn good player, and he's a great person.
Ken, obviously, Willie Rioli had a big week. How did he deal with it from your perspective and his performance today as well?
Yeah, and I thought he was Willie. Willie unfortunately has had to deal with it in the past, and he handles it reasonably well. When we give him a little bit of space, we protect him, we look after him. He knows he's got our full support, and he knows how valuable he is to our footy club on game day, particularly when he's out there playing. Because that's again, I love watching them play and let them be who they are. Willie just knows that we'll support him forever. Said it last week. That shit's got to stop. Anyhow.